Welcome back to another way too early look at Slay the Spire 2. I've already covered the Necrobinder in some detail, and with the Regent now confirmed as the fourth playable character, it's now time to turn our attention to a very familiar face, the Silent. I plan on breaking these cards down into two groups mainly, ones we fully understand and ones we've only really seen the name. But before we look at any cards, there is one new mechanic that we have to cover first, which is Sly. Now you may have missed it came out in a newsletter, what is Sly exactly? So the simple answer is, if something's 3 energy and it has Sly on it and it's discarded, all of a sudden it is now free energy, essentially. So the best part about this is all these cards will now have energy associated with them. You could still play them if you choose, or if you have the discard to do it, you could actually discard it and it would still be played, no cost to you. So a pretty interesting mechanic coming into the new game. But now let's talk about cards that are returning from Slay the Spire to Slay the Spire 2, coming for the Silent. And right now we have Blade Dance coming in, still the same. The big change here is obviously the exhaust of the Blade Dance versus being able to redraw it and replay it. Cloak and Dagger and Accuracy are both returning in their original form with no changes. And you can imagine by these 3 cards being right here, the Shiv playstyle is still definitely viable. Next, we got a couple attacks here with Poison Stab having no changes whatsoever, Die 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 also coming over unchanged, and Dagger Throw yet again coming unchanged. And then lastly, some utility cards with Reflex coming over. Again, the big change is obviously the 3 energy now exist, but that mechanic with Sly is now a part of it. So Reflex, in theory, can still be played just as it's intended, but if you don't have a way to discard it, you could, in a pinch, play it for 3. And well-laid plans, once again, the iconic power making its way over into Slay the Spire 2. And now for cards that we know are coming over into the new game that don't exist today. A 3-cost rare card, Execution, which will deal 11 damage and play every Shiv in your exhaust pile and will also be exhausted. As you can imagine, seems really strong. The difference is, remember, Blade Dance is also exhausting, so you might have way less Shivs in your exhaust pile than you would expect today. We now have a 2-cost power called Fan of Knives, which all Shivs will hit all enemies now, and then add an additional 3 Shivs to your hand at that moment. Again, more Civ synergy happening at the top. And the last new card for the Shiv family is Hidden Daggers, where you will be able to discard 2 and then add 3 Shivs into your hand. Massive ability to not only be 0 cost at this point, you're discarding 2, which is that Sly mechanic, and then you're also adding Shivs to your hand. Seems quite strong if you ask me. And then for some non-Shiv cards, we have Flick Flack, which is Sly, actually, as a 1-cost attack, and it'll deal 7 damage to all enemies. You have Anticipate, which is a 0-cost common skill, which will gain 3 dexterity this turn. Literally the equivalent of Flex for Ironclad today, but the difference is it is now for the dexterity versus strength. And then a 3-cost rare power Master Planner, where that when you play a skill, it will gain Sly. And then lastly, we have cards that are returning from Slay the Spire, but we don't know for sure if they're exactly going to do the same thing, so this will be short and sweet. But first we have Survivor and Neutralize both coming back to the starter deck. And lastly, we have the Piercing Well returning as well. Very iconic card making its way. We'll be curious to see if there are any tweaks though, however, to the description itself. And then last, we have all these new cards that we don't know about yet. We can see some artwork, we can see the types they are, but we have no description of what they may be doing. First, we have an uncommon attack Follow Through, which is going to be a 1-cost. We have a 2-cost skill, which is Uncanny Dodge, and then a 2-cost attack Pounce. We also have an additional 0-cost rare card called Assassinate, and we have a 2-cost rare power Blade of Ink, which has a very similar vibe to Envenom, so I'd be curious if this is a replacement for Envenom or not, but TBD. Now, as I was collecting all these different cards, I realized that the Silent has had the least amount of leaks or teases within gameplay characters outside of the Ironclad and Necrobinder. Obviously, the Regent was just now announced, so it has even less cards. But surprising that we don't actually have more information, but it has been very clear that Shivs is going to be a slight shift, and we do have Poison Stab, which would indicate Poison will still be around, but the discard synergy with Sly seems like that is going to just make discard decks even stronger. I don't know if Megacrit is intentionally leaving more cards behind for the Silent because there's going to be a big shakeup, or it's just one of those unfortunate situations where they just never really seem to share any gameplay, and it was just more focused on the Necrobinder and Ironclad. But as for this video and any other Slay the Spire 2 videos, I really don't think I'll have anything else really to share at this point. I know unless another gameplay trailer does drop or more information comes out from a newsletter, you'll be sure that I'll be reacting and creating some kind of content for you. But until then, I do stream on Twitch, Slay the Spire, 5 days a week. If you do want to come check it out and shoot the shit with me, happy to do so. I'm not that great, but we have a great time. Until then, though, there was a little bit of a tease of something coming out in February, so I might be back before the early release, but who knows.